Hello guys and welcome to another video. Today we're doing another reading vlog but with a twist. It's a challenge. In honor of Percy Jackson and the Olympians number 6 coming out this month, I wanted to do a reading vlog, and since I have already read number 1 and number 2 for this channel, I thought we could start with the Titan's Curse. But to make it more fun, I asked Google how long would it take to read the Titan's Curse, and I got two answers, either 5 hours 52 minutes or 5 hours 20 minutes. We'll meet in the middle. We'll do 5 hours and 35 minutes as a maximum of how long it can take me to read Percy Jackson and the Titan's Curse. The book is 312 pages long, should be easy enough. Since, unfortunately, I do have a life, I cannot afford to sit here for more than 5 hours and read this straight. So I'm gonna time it on my phone every time I'm reading. I'm gonna press the timer and we're gonna see that the total at the end has to be less than 5 hours and 35 minutes. For now, I've started reading the first chapter. I'm around like 10 minutes, so let's go. My rescue operation goes very wrong. Once again, Percy Jackson sounding like clickbait YouTube titles. I love that the first description that we get of the D'Angelos is that they have olive skin, silky black hair, and that they talk a lot with their hands. Because, you know, they're Italian. I'm Spanish and I do talk a lot with my hands. I wonder if people notice that about me. So, we're at the dance and poor Grover has asked for Jesse McCartney and Talia is like not having it. And she's like, you should have asked for Green Day. I want to know if we get to season 3 of the Disney Plus TV show, will they keep the Green Day reference or will they use something else? And you youngsters watching from home, let me know what the equivalent to this reference would be today. I would love a Simple Plan reference, but I think it's just as stated. So what do punk kids listen to nowadays? Because Olivia Rodrigo, I feel like, is too cool for this, right? Annabeth had grown taller than me last summer, which I found kind of disturbing. The truth was, I was kind of disappointed to hear that she liked her new school so much. It was the first time she'd gone to school in New York. I'd been hoping to see her more often. Dance, you guys, Talia ordered. You look stupid just standing there. I looked nervously at Annabeth, then at a group of girls who were roaming the gym. Well, Annabeth said, who should I ask? She punched me in the gut. Me, seaweed brain. Oh, right. So we went onto the dance floor and I looked over to see how Talia and Grover were doing things. I put one hand on Annabeth's hip and she clasped my other hand like she was about to judo throw me. If that isn't foreshadowing, I don't know what is, but I don't want to give Rick Riordan that much credit because we all know how he forgets his own works. So the hunters showed up. Annabeth jumped off a cliff on the manticore. I don't know if I've ever thought this, but the hunters are just so cool. And something that just crossed my mind is Talia and Zoe Nightshade like a ship? Because I could get on board with that. Grow up, become smitten with boys, become silly, preoccupied, insecure, forget themselves. Oh, Zoe sat down at Artemis's right. She glared at me as if all the stuff Artemis had just said was my fault, like I invented the idea of being a guy. Bianca gets way too much hate for having decided to join the hunters and leave Nico behind in the safety of Camp Half-Blood. Mind you, she was around like 13 years old because she was younger than Percy. And she was done taking care of her brother. I believe that if Bianca had survived, if she was still alive, that she would have taken back her choice. Like a couple of years back, once she saw what was happening to Nico, and if she saw Nico reach her age, she would have decided to go back to being immortal and going back to Camp Half-Blood. But she died, so she never got the chance. Wow, Talia muttered. Apollo is hot. He's the sun god, I said. That's not what I meant. Apollo is hot. He's the sun god? That is not what I mean. I'd forgotten about this part. Immediately, Apollo says, Zeus's girl, yes, makes you my half-sister. Greek mythology is messy. Can you surf really well then? Jeez, Nico, I've never really tried. So I've always wondered why the Aphrodite cabin never participates in Capture the Flag, and this is kind of like an answer to that. They love love, and they're like non-confrontational in that kind of sense. Obviously, they love the drama. But then Selena participates in this Capture the Flag against the hunters, and she says, I'll show them love is worthless, Selena Beauregard grumbled as she strapped on her armor. I'll pulverize them. If you are a true fan, you know that's a straight up lyric from Put You in Your Place from the Lightning Thief musical. Great song, great reference. And it's incredible to me that they reference something that happens in the third book in the musical for the first book. Like, they did their homework, people. The Disney Plus adaptation better do it as well. The bar is so high. Right after that, another reference that I'm sure Rick Riordan couldn't have planned this far in advance. He didn't know that he was gonna write Magnus Chase. He says, it would be awesome if we just like resurrected as soon as we were killed so we could keep fighting, which is exactly what the heroes do in Hotel Valhalla. So I just reached page 100. Basically, they just had the camp counselor meeting after playing Capture the Flag against the Hunters, and they decided that they're going on a quest without Percy. And Percy obviously is dealing with a lot of inner angst right now. Being a third of the way through the book and having read for an hour and a half, I'm on track. A little update for you guys before we keep reading is that I really loved every single one of the Percy-Talia interactions that we get.
You want some seaweed brain? Bring it on, pinecone face.
It's just like very sibling coded, and I can relate to that experience a lot. I love their little argument by the creek after Capture the Flag where like Talia saps him, he flies like 10 feet in the air, and then he like blasts her with water and she's prepared to, she shocks him with like literal lightning and he's about to pummel her with all the water from the creek, like tsunami style, when he sees the mummy about to give the prophecy. It's just all very good. I really, really like it. And now we're going to get Percy jumping into the water, finding the half-cow mermaid monster, and then going off illegally into another quest that he wasn't invited to, which we love to see. So let's go. Am I the only one wondering why, if Apollo already confirmed that Talia is turning 16 in a week after the winter solstice, why is no one thinking about the big three-god prophecy and how she could trigger it in a week? You never had any wisdom when it came to boys. You never could leave them behind. That is a low blow.
Dreams like a podcast, downloading truth into my ears. They tell me cool stuff.
They just left the train with Apollo and they're about to meet the gigantic flying pig. And there's this line. Inside the store, we found out a few valuable things about Cloudcroft. There wasn't enough snow for skiing, the grocery store sold rubber rats for $1 each, and there was no easy way in or out of town unless you had your own car. Now, number 1 and number 3 makes sense for them to be mentioned, but the fact that Rick Riordan went out of his way to have Percy mention that it sold rubber rats for $1 each, it's completely unnecessary, and yet it adds that magic to the Percy Jackson franchise. It made me laugh out loud because like, that's so random, but it's so Percy and I love it. That's the magic. It's the rubber rats for $1 each. God, I was about to leave it there, but then he said, the clerk looked so lonely, I bought a rubber rat. It just keeps getting better. With a shiver, I realized that 500 or 1,000 years from now, Bianca D'Angelo would look exactly the same as she did today. Because she's dead. Obviously, Percy's talking about her being an immortal hunter, but we know. We're on page 182, already past the halfway mark. We're currently in the desert. We found out that Talia has a fear of heights. We just discovered that Bianca and Nico D'Angelo stayed at the Lotus Casino for at least 27 years. Ares just appeared with a limousine and he made Percy get in it to have a chat with a lady inside. And this is what Percy says. When I saw her, my jaw dropped. I forgot my name. I forgot where I was. I forgot how to speak in complete sentences. And we all know that for Percy, when he first looks at Aphrodite, she looks like Annabeth. And when Annabeth kisses Percy for the first time in the 4th book, he forgets his name. I love little things like this. This is why I love rereading books, because I would not have gotten this nugget of information in my first read through. When she smiled at me, just for a moment, she looked a little bit like Annabeth. Then, like the television actress I used to have a crush on in the 5th grade. Then, well, you get the idea. Yes, she's turning into people that you thought are attractive and you have crushes on. Saving Artemis, let her stay lost, I say. But a quest for true love. Wait a second, I never said, oh my dear, you don't need to say it. You do know Annabeth was close to joining the Hunters, don't you? I blushed. I wasn't sure. She was about to throw her life away. And you, my dear, you can save her from that. It's so romantic. But it's been ages since we've had a good tragic love story. Whoa, first of all, I never said anything about love. And second, what's up with tragic? Follow your heart. But I don't know where it's going. My heart, I mean. She smiled sympathetically. Not knowing is half the fun, Aphrodite said. Exquisitely painful, isn't it? Not being sure who you love and who loves you. Oh, you kids, it's so cute, I'm going to cry. I agree. I'm not going to let this be easy and boring for you. No, I have some wonderful surprises in store. Anguish, indecision. Oh, just you wait. And she was so right. She delivered on that promise. I wish she hadn't, but she really did. All through this series and the next and the next. But the thing is, I'm not going to let this be easy. That reminds me of Annabeth's line in the 5th book. You're laughing at me. I am not. You are so not making this easy. I am never, ever going to make things easy for you, Seaweed Brain. Get used to it. I am never, ever going to make this easy for you, Seaweed Brain. Get used to it. Oh my god! And they kiss, and they get married. And then they have their happily ever after, because Heroes of Olympus doesn't exist. Bianca just died. Every time I reach this book, I'm like, Bianca, don't do it. It's stupid. It's not worth it. And every time she picks up the little Hades figurine, because she hates me and because she likes being melodramatic. I'm always mad at her because I'm like, why would you do that? I always forget that in the very chapter it mentions the other people in the quest also picking things up, just none of them take those stuff with them. Bianca was so shaken from her discovery that they'd been in the Lotus Hotel for like 27 years that she really wanted to give something to Nico to remind them of their dad and, you know, their family. And that he wasn't alone, but she will never give that figurine to him because on top of, you know, being dead, she dropped it because Percy told her to in case that would help. So now we're on page 198 and the first person to die in this quest has already died. And 198 pages is not a lot. It's not enough to get to know a character and to completely grieve their death, but it's still very sad because of all the tragic circumstances surrounding it. And I really like Bianca as a character. I think she's very likable, and a lot of people hate her because of the choices she makes in this book. But I think she did the best she could at the time with what information she had and what experiences she'd lived as a 12 to 13-year-old. So I think people need to cut her some slack. I'm also wondering if we get to the 3rd season, if we'll get her death from her point of view for it to be more clear, because we just see the automaton, the robot, just losing pieces bit by bit and walking away, and then they look through the wreckage and they can't find anything. But I wonder if we'll see her being inside the automaton and dismantling it and, you know, giving her life to save her quest partners. So we're getting to the 3-hour mark and we just reached page 199 titled, I Have a Damn Problem. You don't know what's coming. Literally, Rick Riordan just killed his first important character. And immediately after that, we're getting the memeiest meme, the most stupidest, most funnest meme in the Riordanverse. Because that's the only way it could happen here, guys. That's the way.
Let us find the damn snack bar.
Ever had a flying burrito hit ya? Well, it's a deadly projectile, right up there with cannonballs and grenades.
That's us. Those 5 nuts right there. Which one am I? The little deformed one?
So I'm back home and I finished reading The Titan's Curse. So I just stopped the timer at less than 5 hours. I will say that after I got out of the subway, I forgot to turn off the timer. So it includes the time it took to get from the subway to my house, so around like 15 minutes. So I would say that all in all, minus the traveling time and minus the times that I stopped to talk to you guys, it probably took me around like 4 hours, 15 minutes, or like 4 hours and a half, if I'm being generous. But I read it so fast, so maybe the speed that Google thinks is the speed of like a 12-year-old reading this, or maybe someone who hasn't read the book 5 times, so I don't need time to process information. I already know everything. Honestly, the one thing I had forgotten about this book, the one event, is when they're in San Francisco and then the Manticore shows up and then they have to be rescued by Dionysus. That's the only thing that I was like, oh, wait, what is happening? I really enjoyed it. Every time I reread this book, I'm like, I don't understand how it's one of people's least favorite books. I think it has very iconic moments. I understand that a lot of people don't really like it because Annabeth isn't in it. I think that was one of my initial reactions. Percy has one of his most heroic and badass moments in it, and it's just so worth it. And the yearning and the wanting to get Annabeth back, I feel like it's worth the process. Having read this book like 5 times or more, probably more, I don't know why I'm still surprised, but while I was rereading it, I was like, this is a super female heavy centric story. And I don't know why I always keep forgetting that. That is on me, but Rick Riordan really has a lot of important female characters out there, and people underestimate them or don't love them enough, and they deserve all the love because the ladies in this book were just chef's kiss. Fantastic. If we ever get a season 3 of the TV show, and I said this like 100 times already in this video, but we're gonna be so lucky because these books are very good and they can only get better by having more fleshed out characters, specifically side characters, because I want to know more about Talia, because this is basically the only book that we get from her. She's also in the 5th one, but not as much. I want to know how her reaction was after coming back to life and not being 12 anymore, having Luke turned evil. We never see her react to that news, and we never see her react to Annabeth being her age when she died. Now she's like 15, turning 16, but Annabeth, now she's 14 years old, and she's actually older than Talia was when she died. I want to know more about that. I need more Talia and Annabeth content. I don't know how, but I want it. I also really enjoy the fact that despite being kidnapped and having the opportunity to be a huge damsel in distress, Annabeth was far from that. We don't see a lot from her, but we see from her in Percy's dreams. Okay, I don't support our Annabeth being in love with Luke agenda, but I understand why she would go there and hold this guy up for him. Let's keep in mind that she would do that for a friend as well. She would have done that for Talia, even if she had betrayed them. So Annabeth just straight up walks up there and holds up this guy for who knows how long. So badass. Going back to Percy's most badass moment of all time, holding the sky, it's just such a cool scene, and Rick just wrote it so damn well. So I bookmarked a few passages because I thought they were funny or I thought they were worth mentioning. We're at Hoover Dam, about to escape. A shadow fell over me. I thought maybe it was the shadow of death. Then I realized it was the shadow of an enormous swing. I don't know why that caught me so off guard, but I thought that was so funny. Like, Percy is ready to accept death at any given moment, and he's like, well, guess I'll die. I am so happy that I found this because I don't think I've ever noticed this before, but talking about Rachel, Percy's like, well, the girl was annoying. Percy takes a minute to take in the beautiful sights of San Francisco, and he's describing them, a picture-perfect moment, except for the fact that we were about to die and the world was going to end. That's the kind of humor that I love. Like, you don't expect it, it's in the middle of an action sequence, which Rick does so well. Just sprinkling humor in the moments that you least expect them, and with Percy's voice so deadpan and so snarky. I love it. Oh, just things like that just make me smile while reading the books. And things like that is why I think that these kind of books, these Rick Riordan books, especially this series, can be appreciated and enjoyed by basically anyone, any age, anyone with good taste, of course. Annabeth loves hugging Percy when she thinks he almost died, but I was missing a Percy and Annabeth hug with their reunion. I guess Luke was kind of being like a traitor, looking like he was half dead, and then actually looking like he actually died when he falls off the cliff. So I guess there was no time for them to have like a reunion hug. Although they do get to have this cute conversation while they're flying on the Pegasus. Afterwards, when they're in Olympus and Percy thinks that Artemis is going to be like, dude, Annabeth, do you want to be my lieutenant? Percy freaks out because obviously he doesn't want her to be a hunter. A feeling of panic seized me. Annabeth, I said under my breath, don't. She frowned at me. What? Look, I need to tell you something, I continued. The words came stumbling out of me. I couldn't stand it if I don't want you to. Percy, she said, you look like you're gonna be sick. And that's how I felt. I wanted to say more, but my tongue betrayed me. It wouldn't move because of my fear in my stomach. And then Artemis turned. And obviously, she is not going to become a hunter anytime soon. But I love the fact that Percy thought that she was, and he was so scared and so nervous. And it also reminds me, it parallels the scene where Percy actually, in the 5th book, spoilers, confesses that he likes Annabeth and that he wants to be together with her. And she's like, are you okay over there, seaweed brain? Like, you look like you're gonna puke. Not those exact words, but that vibe. But then, of course, we get Percy talking to a couple of gods. He talks to Athena, and Athena's like, I don't like you being friends with my daughter. And then Annabeth shows up, and Percy's like, oh no. So he's thinking about his conversation with Athena, and then it's like, oh, what did you want to tell me earlier? The music was playing, people were dancing in the streets. I said, I was thinking we got interrupted at Westover Hall, and I think you owe me a dance. There was a lot I wanted to say to Annabeth, but Athena had taken the confidence out of me. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I really want to know what he was planning on telling her. But yeah, he owes her a dance. So she smiled slowly, all right, seaweed brain. So I took her hand, and I don't know what everybody else heard, but to me it sounded like a slow dance, a little sad, but maybe a little hopeful too, and it's just so nice. So all we're left with after that is them going back to camp, and then the people in camp have blood, specifically Chiron, who is an immortal adult. They're just like, oh, didn't tell Nico that his older sister and his only remaining relative or loved one, his sister's dead. We didn't tell her. We didn't tell him. We were waiting for you, Percy, a child, a 14-year-old who has just been through some traumatic incidents. We were waiting for you to tell him. Even though, yeah, you were the one who promised that you were gonna keep her safe. You promised, but it's fine. You tell him. And obviously, we all know how that went. Nico is devastated. He reveals he's a child of Hades and that he knows that Bianca is there in the fields of Asphodel, or, you know, but before the judges. He leaves, and then Annabeth is like, dude, we gotta tell Chiron. Percy's like, dude, no. So they don't. And then Annabeth goes back to San Francisco, and they're like, it's fine, nothing's gonna happen until the summer. And it's not. Oh my god, I'm so excited to read the 4th book now. So before I leave to do another Buffy marathon, what are my finishing thoughts? My finishing thoughts are that I really enjoyed this book, and that you can actually read it in 4.5 hours or less if you plan to, and if you're crazy like I am. So don't pay attention to Google, they're wrong. Please let me know down below how long it took you to read this book, if you are ever crazy enough to time yourself actually reading a book in real time. By the way, I started this series because I wanted to do a readathon before the 6th book comes out. I'm not gonna read any of Heroes of Olympus. I know it's technically after that, but still. I'm just reading the main series since that's what it's a continuation of. I wanted to get in the vibe. I think it might be a wrong choice because now my expectations are going to be through the roof. Last time I did a reread, I think I was a bit burned out, so I didn't enjoy it that much. But this time I was like, damn, the characters are so good. The writing is phenomenal, and the humor just gets me every single time. Percy has so much heart, and I love him so much. Like, he deserves to be my favorite character, as vanilla as that opinion is, but he is so good. I cannot wait to read the 4th book and have more Percy and Annabeth interactions. I also, I'm noticing that Grover's the best. I love him so much. He's so funny, so sweet, and so random. The plan is, if everything goes right, now I'm going to read the 4th one and then I'll read the 5th one, obviously. And then each Friday, I'll upload a vlog. So if you want to read along with me, read the Battle of the Labyrinth for next Friday, and then for the next Friday, read The Last Olympian, and then we'll be ready to read the Chalice of the Gods, and I am planning to make at least one video for that. We know it's probably gonna be more than that. Maybe a reading vlog, maybe a book review. We'll see how it goes. But yes, please let me know if you're planning on joining this readathon and what your favorite book in the series is, because now I can't decide. They're all so very good and they all have like their unique things, because obviously book 2, a lot of Percy and Annabeth by themselves. Love to see it, although they needed growth. Book 1, the OG. This one, no Annabeth, but at the same time, we get to see Percy and Annabeth being friends. They don't bicker, they're just there. They have like that solid foundation already. They work really well together. And Percy really tries his darndest to get her back. Book 4, a lot of bickering. We have Rachel Elizabeth there. Ugh. And then 5th book. I'm so excited. I haven't read that one in a while. Oh my god. I haven't been this excited to read Percy Jackson in so long. It makes me so happy. So yeah, please leave a like if you like this video. Comment down below all the things I asked you to comment before. Click subscribe if you haven't already. Click that bell button to get notifications every time I post a new video. I post videos just like this every single Friday. Don't miss our readathon. And I guess I'll see you guys next time with the Battle of the Labyrinth. Bye!